Hello, my people. Yeah, the brain challenge is here. Critically looking into things and trying to find sense out of it. I've had many people blame, the white colonizers and saying that those guys are the worst people ever because they took our great great grandfathers and ancestors, took them to the white settlers' fields, lands, some to go fight in the army, some to go work on their farms. And that's a very bad thing to do to a fellow human being. Yeah, every person will agree to that. You're making someone work, do a lot of work, and you don't pay them, or you don't pay them at all, or when you pay them so little that cannot upkeep them in anything. You deny them all the human possible rights. You don't want them to do one, two, three. You don't want them to associate with you. You give them a lower class of life ever. That's the worst thing you can do to everyone. Yeah, anyway, that's not the best thing that you can do to your brother or a fellow human being in any way. But I'll ask a question. Do we know that, do we understand that slavery was in Africa even before the coming of the colonizers? Are we aware of that slavery was in Africa, existed in Africa, even before the coming of the colonizers? This means, our brothers, our sisters used to colonize each other for a given purposes. And one instance is, during wars, local wars, one tribe fighting another tribe, for whatever purpose they were fighting for, maybe to expansion of land, to expand their territories, or maybe to just steal their cattle from them, e.g., something like cattle rustling. There are those guys who are kidnapped or who are taken as slaves, like the village or the community that has been defeated. Yeah, those who defeated them could take some of their men as slaves and some of their women too. So for women, they will use them for sexual purposes, and for men, they will use them to do other jobs. You become a slave to them, you work for them, you do everything for them. And that doesn't mean that they'll give you a good life. Doesn't mean that they will give you a good life like them, because you're not like them, you are their slave. That means you live a very low life. You live a very low life. Yeah, that is one thing. And it happened several times. And I believe even now in some other community, this thing is still happening. The slavery that is happening, it's on another way that you might not really know that slavery, because they have sold us the narrative that slavery is just what the white people did to you and to your ancestors, and what they can do now if they want to do that. And number two type of slavery that existed in Africa before that is, and the worst mistakes that our own brothers did to their own brothers is, the worst thing is not the white taking you as a slave. It's your own brother selling you to a white colonizer to go into work as a slave. So the worst people that were ever and existed during that time of slavery is fellow Africans who took it upon themselves to make riches and wealth out of selling fellow Africans to the whites to go and work as slaves. Yes, that is the worst thing that ever happened. It's not the whites coming and taking over our ancestors or our grandfathers and our ancestors to those lands to get into work. It's their own brothers by that time accepting to sell them, because there are those who collaborated with the whites, and the only way you could collaborate with the whites is to accept their demands. So they accepted their demands and said, okay, we will work for you. We'll be getting guys who are stronger enough for you to come and work on your farms, and you guys will be paying us. And that's that is what happened. That is what happened. So I believe this thing has been with us and is with us and continue being with us even at the moment now. This is what is happening. Yeah, and I know we all understand in most of the African countries in context. Yeah, our grandfathers or our ancestors who are there by then have managed to fight the whites and send them, the whites, the browns, whatever those people are. I They'll have a specific name for them. Whatever those people are, let me call them the colonizers. They managed to fight the colonizers and send them away from Africa, different parts of Africa. And they got what you call independence. And African countries could lead themselves. But once the African countries started leading themselves, the Africans who were in power started colonizing and enslaving the Africans who are not in power like them. The very thing that the colonizers were doing is the very thing that the African leaders are doing currently. The colonizers stole your land. They overtaxed you for their own good. They killed you to get the very good things out of it. If you stand in the line, they could kill you so that you don't become an obstacle to them in any way. The colonizers took away your women. The colonizers denied you education, because if you become educated, you can be smart and think bright and become like them and find better ways of fighting them. And many other things that the colonizers did. They denied you basic needs, water, electricity. By that time, there was no electricity. But they could hold on those things and find a way of trying to make controlling them, so that you don't just get them when you want, but you only get them when they allow you to get them. Is that the very thing that is happening in Africa and developing world, developing countries currently? Where those that you call your leaders, where those that you call your presidents, where those that you call your governors, where those that you call your MPs, where those that you call your MCS, where those that you call your bishops, where those that you call your pastors, where those that you call your evangelists, where those that you call the apostles are stealing from you in the name, okay, these men in the uniform are stealing from you in the name of God. They're colonizing you in the name of God. And those who are in power, political positions, they're stealing from you in the name of democracy. They're stealing from you in the name of providing, but they don't really do that. They overtax you and me for their own good. And every time they overtax me and you see them buying bigger cars. You see them putting up bigger houses. You see them flying every part of the world as they want, go for vacations in any place they want to go to. Those were in political positions. And if you dare stand against them or oppose those things that they're talking about, what do? You will be arrested. The very thing that the colonizers used to do, they will be arrested and put in places where people might not understand, depending to the level of stubbornness that you have or the truth that you bear. Do they do the same? They do the same. This is the very thing that the colonizers did to our African brothers. Do they do that? Yes, we've had extrajudicial killings in Africa, in every country in Africa, in every third world country. We've had all these things. So we thought we got the freedom to express ourselves, the freedom to build our own continent, Africa, to the biggest and best continent that ever was in the earlier history of humankind. But they got the freedom, a few people got the freedom to use the fellow Africans to make themselves greater again. So a few are prospering at the expense of the sweat and the blood of the many who are poor. Yeah, we got independence in this year. We celebrate Independence Day each and every time, but does it really remind us what independence looks like? Are the very people in position still collaborating with the West to deny you some of your rights and to impose things that you don't value and you are not part of your what you like to do? They are doing the same. So when did we gather independence? And what was the independence for? If our very own brothers and sisters are destroying us in the name of making us, it's all pity. If only human beings were human beings and act in love to their fellow human beings, the world will be a better place to live. If we will all work in the spirit of oneness, what I hear most of my learned friends call Ubuntu. I am because we are. The spirit of oneness, the world will be a better place to. Africa will be the best continent ever to live in. The continent that is blessed with all that is needed for human being survival. That every developed nation is fighting to have a cake of the very Africa. What if the Africans will just stand for themselves, love each other, love their own brothers, and make good out of each and every brother, each and every friend they have? Will Africa not become a superpower? Will Africa not become the best continent that has never ever seen? We have it all. They steal from us to do whatever they're doing in the name of sponsoring political parties and whatever they do. Think about that. It's high time, we stop pointing fingers unto these people and start pointing fingers unto ourselves and see what have we done wrong, what did we do wrong, what are we doing wrong that makes these people get a grip on us. Jesus said, a divided kingdom cannot stand. And that is what is happening in Africa. The kingdom is divided. It cannot stand on its own because a brother wants to use another brother to get whatever they want to get. And they're ready to kill or sell you to slavery for them to get whatever they want to get and rule over you. We got to make something work over here. We got to change the narrative. And the only way to change the narrative is to love your fellow brother. Stand for your brother, love your brother, take care of your brother, be there for your brother. That is all I'm calling on to you to do as Africans. So stop blaming the white. Blame the brothers and sisters who are selling you to the whites. They're the very, 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 very worst human beings that have ever existed. They are selling you to slavery. Blame them. They can protect you if they stand together. If they come and tell us that these people want me to sell you to them, we will find a better way to stand together and defend ourselves. But they see it in bigger hotels and they make deals and they're told, if you sell me your brother, I'll give you this. And because they're so hungry of money, wealth, and power, they choose to sell me and make those wealth. You ask me, can we change the narrative? I'll tell you, yes, we can change the narrative. Just as this food will make me feel better, we can love each other and live in harmony. I love you all, Africans, and think about this.